So the Rebbe's Mitzayin there, as you see later, the Rebbe's the whole sugya of Oiris V'Kelim, the Rebbe's Mitzayin to two places, to Ayin Beis and to Memtes, which is the Maimer. I think the second Maimer there, Koyomar, the second Maimer in the Hamshich of Memtes. First of all, you see Bechlal, the Gans Chassidus, it overlaps, right? The Inyan and the Sugyas connect one to another. But it's not. But these are all very, very yisoidistic yisudis, and each one has it's a sugya shlema. But the ideas ultimately merge. And what's the idea? The idea here of soif ma'is and achshavat chila, and God's voice in the seifa. Right? There will be an elyon. There is a tachtin. Ultimately, the elyon is attracted to the tachtin because the tachtin brings a mila to the elyon. But the elyon has to overcome that urge to connect to the tachtin. Bitzad, what it brings to the elyon, and rather see the tachtin for what the tachtin is, and speak to the tachtin on the tachtin's terms. This plays out in Shama V'Guf, this plays out in Zav Malchus, this plays out in Dibur, this plays out in Oiris V'Kelim, and the many different areas. So we're discussing Dibur right now. So last week we spoke about Dibur, the way it's brought in Sif Dalid, and now we'll move over to Sif Vav and Zayin. So what the Rebbe does in Sif Vav is the Rebbe takes the sugya of Dibur that's brought in Chassidus, right, especially in Ranat, as is also brought in the Kovetz, the Mamar in the beginning of Ranat. That's where the sugya of Dibur is really fleshed out. And here the Rebbe spalt hard. The Rebbe takes ideas that Bepashtus, the way they're brought in Chassidus, is as one Inyan. But the Rebbe splits it into half. And the Rebbe says, okay, let's look at the story of Dibur, and let's break it down. What's the story of Dibur? So the story of Dibur is, well, why don't we understand that Dibur is a very low koyach. It's the way Reuven relates to Shimon. Right? Reuven for himself doesn't need Dibur. You don't need to talk to yourself. If you do talk to yourself, it's not with Dibur, it's an internal communication. Dibur is only here where I don't exist anymore, right? In order to connect to someone outside of me, beyond the boundaries of myself. So that's the tachtoinius of Dibur. That's how Dibur is external. L'yidach, we see that dafke Dibur is mushrish in a very high place. Now, how do we see that? So derech lavi, so that's what Chassidus is. You see this in regards to anything you talk about. You talk about seichel, you talk, or you express your feelings. If it's seichel, if it's midas, whatever you'll talk about, there will be much greater depth and pnimius brought into it. Right? So ideas that a person doesn't have fully clarified to himself, dafka when he discusses it with somebody else, or he says it over to a Talmud, dafka then it's moisif in oirech, roichav, oimek. That's in seichel. Well, derech zayin midis, a person can have very, very strong feelings, but when you speak about it, they get a lot more chayis, they get a lot stronger, which is why the lashon we get the kas. It says when one of the eitzes, when a person's angry, is just don't speak about it. Stay quiet for a bit, it'll calm down. Because that's the teva of Dibur. Dibur has the ability to bring something much stronger. That's the shayla of Dibur is lower than all of the koyachs. How does it give such a koyach into them? How does it give such a koyach? And the answer is because Dibur is mushush in a very high place. Now, in our Maimer, he goes and starts defining what is that high place. So in other Mamarim, it speaks about Dibur being mushrish in Chachma, in the Etzem HaChachma, in the Sheirish HaChachma. But even the Rebbe's Mamarim, I think the Rebbe's Mitzayin here. I believe the Rebbe's Mitzayin here. Tavati Yigdal Makoyach Adnai, is the Rebbe Mitzayin to the Maimer? Is there a tzin here to look at Gimel? I guess not. That's what's brought in the Kovetz. Right, so another place is Seretzich Abyssal Nidriker. But here, it's very clear, although said the Sif and Chelik Vav, that the Nekud is that Dibur is mushrish in Etzem HaNefesh. Fine, so Dibur is mushrish in a very high place. Therefore, Dibur has this quality, anything that you discuss, anything you talk about, becomes a lot more powerful, because it comes from Etzem HaNefesh. Now, it comes in Sif Vav, and he says that when you if we take Dibur and you analyze it, that's we could break it into two. There are two levels here. There's Dibur Alein, and there's what dibur brings into the seichel and midas. Right, so b'derech kol this is brought as one in. We don't see the chalukah. And for sure, one is the other. The context of dibur is, where do we see the power of dibur? We see the power of dibur in the fact that anything you talk about becomes a lot stronger, a lot deeper. Why is that? Because it's mushrish in a very high place. Here we come and say, no. Let's break this into two. Mushrish is, dibur is mushrish and etzem and nefesh. That's one. When we say dibur, we mean dibur on its own, without anything else. Not what you talk about, not the seichel, not the midas, not the content, but the format. The etzem communication, the etzem idea of speech, of communicating with someone else, that's dibur. Then there's, okay, so what are you actually saying to the other guy? You're not just mumbling away, you're telling them some content. Like, as we spoke, the Frieger says in the Mamar, sometimes you have someone that's and that itself is a koyak, without the content. Right? Dibur itself can be something very exciting, be very exhilarating. A great speech. What do you say? Garnished. There's nothing there, there's no content there. Then there's the content. Now, just like b'pashtus, what's higher, what's greater? The words that I'm using or the content I'm putting into them? So the pashtus, the content. Right? Words are nice, but it's all just different forms of giving out the content you're trying to say. So when we come to the shoyresh, and in the shoyresh it's not tlasim esayfa, in the shoyresh it's like ma'aseh machshav tchila, so here it works for keret. There's the new energy that's brought into the seichel and midas, into the content that I'm speaking about. And then there's the dibur itself, the actual speech. So in the shoyresh it's for keret. The content is taka moshesh and etzem nefesh, but not etzem nefesh mamish. And the speech itself, the dibur itself, is moshesh and etzem nefesh mamish. Right? The lashon that he uses is. So how does he say it? He says here in Sivav, on the 5th line of Sivav, in the middle. Shloimer shegam dargas nefesh avisham nimshachim aseichel v'amidis aydei yislapshusim b'dibur. Where dibur itself comes from is a higher place than where the depth, right, that's in the seichel and midas comes from. Seichel and midis are giluyim shebenefesh. Right? Also, we spoke about this. The giluyim shebenefesh. The nefesh expresses itself. The human being expresses himself in the seichel and midis. You want to know who the person is? Here is ideas. Look into his feelings, into his emotions, what he connects to, and how passionate he's about things. Right? You see someone's passionate about something, you know who they are. You see the ideas, you see the thought process of a person, mizet the nefesh. So, the seichel and midis, which they're the general term for all the giluyim shebenefesh, they are the giluyim of the person. Now, al yovikoitzba, they're taka the giluyim shebenefesh, they are megala the nefesh, but because they are megala the nefesh, they have a wall. They stay inside the person, right? Seichel, my ideas, what I'm thinking, and midas are my feelings. Yes, midas, there's a bit sense of zulas there. It's my feelings towards the zulas, but it's all my feelings, right? You can live next to somebody that has certain feelings even towards you. He hates you, he loves you, whatever, and you won't know about it if he'll never express it to you, right? It's totally in that person. And one's connected to the other because it's megala the nefesh. So a gilui of something stays close to that thing. Right? So you have oil, right? So you have light coming out of a moir. The light, how far will the light reach? Will the light go? Well, it depends. If you're talking about a regular, if you're talking about just a candle, or a avuka, or a medura, you have a flame, and you have a bonfire. You have many. But each one will give off its light a bit further, but stuff there's a gvul, right? At a certain stage, the light doesn't reach anymore. So you have beautiful lampposts outside by night, fine. But you need every couple hundred feet, you need another one. Why? Because then you won't see anymore. You'll say, what do you mean? I started driving on the highway and there was a lamp, and there was a lamp over there, so there's light coming out. Okay, so obviously once I start turning off, I veer away. But if it's a straight lane, it should go on for miles. No, it doesn't, because light. Now, stronger light will go further, bigger, better flashlight will go even further, right? But because it's an expression, it's the hamshich of the makar, so its whole mitzias is that it's davuk to the makar, and it's close to the makar. So seichel midis, they're megal v'nefesh. And because they're megal v'nefesh, ad po yisavli, right? And therefore, where can it be megal v'nefesh? Within myself. Outside of me, it can't reach there. Dibur has the ability, because what's dibur? Dibur it's not a gilui, right? It's not a gilui. It's connected to the etzem nefesh that a person is not, right? He's not mugbul in any gather, not in the gather of gilui. No, he can express himself without expressing himself, right? Not in a place of expression. Right? He has the koyach to go beyond and to reach places that he cannot. So now, when I take seichel avidis, you know, okay, now I have a great idea, but now I want to share it. I don't want to keep it for myself. I want to share it with somebody else. I want to share it with a friend. So I call somebody over and I share with him that idea. So I'm bringing to seichel and midis something that l'chayr seichel midis doesn't have on its own. Seichel and midis hits a brick wall. Dibur takes it over the wall or through the wall, right? That's the power of speech. So l'chayr I can come and say, okay, so what happened is now seichel and midis will stop being seichel and midis. Dibur takes the seichel and midis and brings it into a new sheker. We say no. Rather, seichel and midis are the gilui of the nefesh. So gilui of the nefesh can go only till that far. But that's because we're looking at the gilui of the nefesh in a limited way. Because seichel and midis come from, he says from keser, it comes from etzem nefesh. So be'etzem, the seichel and midis have a much greater koyach in them that's not limited. So yeah, regular seichel and midis reach only till here, right? Just like when you're standing in fire or in a candle. So a candle reaches, the oil reaches till here. You have a Abdullah candle, reach further, right? You have a fluorescent. You have a few more batteries, it reaches further, right? And the greater the light, the further it can reach. Right, so we understand that so you can reach further and further and further. Now, however, you'll come and say, yeah, it can reach further, but at some stage it reaches a wall. So let's say even Oyer HaShemesh. Oyer HaShemesh is the greatest light, the greatest makir of Oyer in this world. It could reach much further than anything else, right? Therefore, when it's light outside, you don't need any light on the highway, because the Oyer HaShemesh reaches everywhere. As long as it's not. However, there's a Tanai. As long as there's nothing blocking. The moment something is blocking, it won't reach anyone. Right? So it's broad daylight outside, but the windows are closed, you have the shades on it, and here it's dark. It's lichtik, and Shimsha Akula Alma Naichi, the Shemesh shines everywhere, as long as there's nothing stopping it. You have clouds, that's a cloudy day, the Shemesh can't come through. Yeah, very good. But now we come and say, fine, because at the end of the day, oil in this world is mugbal. Even what would be considered oil bligvul, it's oil shemesh, is mugbal. So it stops by a wall. However, lo yitzuyer that this oil is mamish bligvul. It's bligvul, not just that it could go millions of miles away, but that nothing can stand in its way. Even if there's a wall there, right? Even if we would technically come and surround the sun with inyanim ha'mastirim, it has the koyach to be bekeya satzimtzum, right? It could be bekeya. It could go through. Right, so you have a mashal or Rabbi Talmud. You have a Rabbi Talmud. So you have someone that could teach one letter. And then you have the Chacham Gadol could teach even someone on a simpler level, right? Even someone that's mamish has almost no seichel. Aber ashtein to a stone, you can't teach a rock, you can't teach a table. However, Lu Yitzuyer, the Rab is such a seichel bligvul that he's bligvul. Therefore, he could teach even someone that's not even something that's not shaykh to understand the klal uklal. Taka kap kemen nisharuf shtel. That's inside Klolei Gvul. But in Bli Gvul, he's not Mugbul in that. So that's what happens when the Seichel, that's what happens when Seichel comes into Dibur. When Seichel comes into Dibur, Seichel Kilo gets in touch with its shoyresh, the way he comes also from Etzem HaNefesh, right? Because all koiches come from the Etzem HaNefesh. They're much more powerful. And when it gets that energy, so it has that koyach that now it can go much further. What's not much further? It could go out of the person to the zulas, that now the zulas can also understand. When a taka reaches that far, that it leaves the boundary, it breaks through that barrier and reaches the zulas, so there's a lot more depth, there's a lot more oimek and oirech and roichab and the seichel and the midas, because it was able to go through. Aber sof, the lashon he used in the Maimer, it's bligvul. It's bligvul. Because he's bligvul, he can reach that far. But then comes dibur alein. What's dibur alein? Dibur alein is, we're not talking about the content that's said over to somebody else. Dibur alein is the etzem fact that I could communicate with someone else. You're saying you're communicating seichel midas, yeah, but that's a communication. That leap that you can go, that I can talk to someone beyond myself. How's that shaykh? Or what's the shaila? The shaila here is was kommt rein dibur in nefesh. When you're looking at the toolbox that nefesh has, seichel, midas, all these things, I understand what they're doing here. What are they? They are an expression of the soul. What's dibur? Dibur's not expressing anything. The nefesh is zich. Dibur is the zulas. Was kommt rein? What's Shimon doing inside of Reuben? What's he doing? He's in the wrong address. Narva then. Dibur is the etzem HaNefesh alein. The etzem HaNefesh, the fact that he's not mugder in anything, the pshitis, that he's not mugder in any giloi, and that he can find himself somewhere else in Gans. Now, once Dibur exists, or once there's that koyach in the nefesh, once there's that koyach to completely transcend myself, Seichel and Midas use that koyach to be megale its bligvul. Right? But if Dibur didn't exist on its own terms, Seichel and Midas can't create Dibur. Right? Because bligvul, yes, bligvul can go further. What's the idea of going further? That now the ideas, the Seichel and Midas, what is it? It's an expression of the nefesh. The ideas, the thoughts, the feelings can be brought down and expressed even outside the person. Right? So the person can express himself in a space where he's not expressed. But he's expressing himself there. Dibur, you're not expressing yourself in Dibur. That's the whole part of Dibur. You're not expressing yourself. You're just entering someone else's space. You're going out of yourself. Seichel and Midas, I'm bringing zich to the zulas. Dibur is, there's just zulas. I'm leaving myself and going to zulas. So the etzem ma'avar, dibur, that comes from etzem HaNefesh. What dibur brings to seichel and midas, dibur, so it goes to seichel and midas and says, okay, seichel and midas, you're really a lot deeper. There's a lot more to you that for whatever reason hasn't been expressed. Why hasn't it been expressed? Because the oimek is only expressed when you reach much further, when you reach Bli Gvul, right? Just like in oil, right? Where do you see the godless of an oil? Where do you see when you get a new flashlight that works much better? Where do you see its godless? The fact that you turn it on, and right here you could read in the sefer the godless of this light is because you could have a simple candle. You could also see where is its godless expressed that you could see it 200 feet away, 1,000 feet away, right? So the Bli Gvul is only expressed in a very, very far place. Now, how far? There's many levels in how far. Comes Dibur, and now with Dibur, it breaks that wall, it breaks that boundary, it goes to the Zulas. Wow. So now the godless, the Bli Gvul of the Seichel and Midas is expressed that it goes so far, and that's why its oimek is expressed there. But it's not called the Bli Gvul, it's a koyach Bli Gvul shebenefesh. It's only Bli Gvul. B'sheinkein, Dibur itself is, where does Dibur itself come from? Not the koyach Bli Gvul. Bli Gvul means I could express myself Bli Gvul. But the fact that I can express myself, it's a gilui. It's not the etzem alei. The etzem is expressed in dibur. Now, this plays out in oiris and kalim as well, right? If you want to added, talking about Spalt and her, so Biel has a word here that Nachme. She says like this. This is in regards to what we said earlier. So let's say you have the oil, let's say you have light, right? That's so bleakable that it could go through the wall, or that the wall is not master, right? And therefore, the oil will be seen even beyond something that's blocking. So what's the pshat? Mechalik saying it's tuifan. Right? There's a guf, you could say tuifan. What are the tuifan? What happened here? You could say it in two ways. Until a moment ago, right? Until we were able to find this magic patent that right, it turned into infrared, and now the light sort of goes through the gvul. The light traveled millions of miles from the sun till the wall, right? That wasn't a problem. Why? Because it's all in its shetach. It's all in its shetach, right? For a candle, once you go 10 feet away, it's not its shetach anymore. But for the sun, it's such a great more that even millions of miles away, it's still its shetach. Once you pass the wall, it's not its shetach anymore. But here it can be tuifan. One oifan is, what happens is, the oir is a bleak vul. It's so bleak vul that klap of, everything is in its shetach. Just like for the sun, a millions of miles away is in its shetach. This oir will be so bleak vul that even beyond the barrier is considered in its shetach. It's considered the kir of lamoir. Because everything's in its space. So you would say, this Rav is so brilliant, has such an amazing koyach, that for him, even the shtein is a Talmud. Right? Just like we understand that some people are so brilliant, they could explain things even to a toddler. So this Rav is even more brilliant. The famous Brisker word, as felt in Havana, felt in Asbaris, felt in Havana. Yeah, so his Havana is so great, he can even masber things to mamash shtein. I feel der kappas mechanisch out of stellen. What's the word? The oimek is that this also becomes part of its shetach. But then there's a deeper way to say. No. The chiddush would be a sach tiffer. Not that this oir is so stark that even the wall is a spatel. The wall is a wall. So bleibt daran. What's on the other side of the wall is not part of the shetach of the moir. It's in a different space. It's takem moved on mimen. How could the oir come to a place that's moved? The whole thing of Gilui is only when it's karev. It's so bleak vul that it could even go somewhere that's not karev, that's not in its shetach. If you want to be, another way of saying it, you could call the difference between bleak vul and bleak gather. This is bleak vul, so it's unlimited. So it goes anywhere and everywhere. Right? It takes over everything. Ligeder is, it's not mugder, it's not defined in this basic cloud that giluyim. Giluyim are defined by being karev lamoir. This giluy is not defined by that. Not only it's bleak vul, it's ligeder. But even here we'll say that when we're talking about seichel amidus that can reach that far, not only reaches that far that everyone can understand because everyone becomes a Talmud. Even though you're not a Talmud, you still get it. Right, so the Muslim Brigade brought to Talmidei Chachamim that the Nasi Adar and Nasi Bnei Yisrael, Rosh Alf Yisrael, Perek Beis Tanya, gives chayes to everybody, even to who? Even to the Poishim who murdered Talmidei Chachamim. And they get M'chinas Tzipurnayim Mechol. So what's the pshat? It's Tuifan, I don't understand. Is the pshat that even they be'etzem, they're in the Nasi's Melocha. They're also Chassidim. They're also Mekablim. Taka, a regular person, you can't be mashpit to somebody that's menaged to the Ashba. That's all Chiddush Yesh Me'ayin. right? That hashpa is mechaber derech kiruv, and at the same time it's behelim v'hester. So one way of saying is, that the nasi reaches even that person. But Nochar even understand it is no, he's taka minag. And be'etzem, he can't be makab. There is a barrier. And yet, he's not mugder in that. He's not mugder in having a kesher with someone that has a kesher. You know, the guy doesn't have a kesher. And yet he's not mugder in it. The word would be that sof, when it's talking about seichel, the seichel that comes through dibur, even if we say in this oifin that it's not just that it breaks through, that even beyond the wall is in its shetach. It's not in its shetach. So we'll call it bli geder, not bli gvul, but sof. It's that the giluyim are not mugder. It's right there adin in giluyim. That he can express himself even in a place that he cannot. And then there's dibur itself, that is, it's not about expressing b'chlal. It's the etzem nefesh alim. Fine, now I'm going to get to Oiris and Kalim. So there, right, this is in Chassidus, the Sugya of Oiris and Kalim is up from the most. You say this thing is Sugyas. So we know that Oiris, Teva ha'oir, is Lalis l'mayla. Maybe say the Eish, right, that would want to go to Tzmakar, you say the Eish. Kalim is Nimshach l'mata. You have this in Zoh and Malchus, you have this in many different areas. That's not good of Oiris and Kalim. And yet, we see that the oiris are nislabish in the kelim. The shaila is, why are the oiris nislabish in the kelim? They're going completely different directions. The oir is oila l'mayla. Teva kelim is l'eretz l'mata. So what makes, you could just say, okay, koyach maflilas, the Eibishter forces the oiris in the kelim, but he doesn't force it because it's nislabshus. The oiris and kelim actually connect each other. So Chassidus, there's different biurim. And the way that it's spelled out in the Mimer here is, there's two eifan. One eifan is the oir sees the milas akli. What do we mean by it sees the milas akli? The oir sees, you know something? Take mitzidi, my teva is malis l'mayla. But through the kalim, I'm going to reach my shleimus. Why is the oiris going to reach its shleimus through the kelim? Because what is the tafkid of oir? The tafkid of oir, it's mehuz. What's its teva lalas lamayla? What's its tafkid? What's the purpose of oir? The purpose of oir is le'edus lamata. It cannot be yored lamata b'shleimus without kelim. Because if the oir would be yored lamata without kelim, then it'll be niskala b'ligvul. It'll go anywhere, but it won't be niskabel in the tachta. Right? It'll be like oir without kelim. It will be makif. It won't be pnimi. Just like okay, I have a great idea. I want a shear. Okay, so I'll just shoot it out. It'll be selikzich like me and cup. I won't get it. Right? I think kelim. Oisias have to bring it into bina. Have to process it and have a back and forth with somebody else, and then. So the kelim ultimately serve the purpose of the oir, that the meaning of oir is that it should be a gilui, and so the gilui bli gvul happens through the kelim. The kelim allow the gilui to happen by from a bli gvul. The Maimer here is the Maimer leman das tafshin yud gimel. Yeah, some of you heard of the Maimer. So it's a very it's a long tifeng geschmack Maimer. One of these cities come from the Rebbe on Achdus Hashem. There's a whole meiser, a whole meiser with this Maimer, that after the Rebbe said the Maimer, he struggles understanding a few inyanim in the Maimer. So he wanted to ask the Rebbe shalos on the Maimer. The place Seder then was that unofficially they would record Fabrengens, but the Rebbe didn't officially allow the recording, and so there would just be one recording. It would go to Maskiris. So the Rebbe then asked, the Rebbe said, okay, he wants to hear the Maimer. To understand, because of Rabbi Yale and others wrote to the Rebbe some shalos on the Maimer, so the Rebbe wanted to hear the Maimer. How the Rebbe said. So they brought in a tape recorder, it's 1953, and the Rebbe listened to the Maimer. Rabbi Yale then was able to see through the window, able to see the Rebbe listen to the Maimer, and he always speak about the tear, how the Rebbe put his Reisha Kodesh on between his hands, and the Rebbe the way the Rebbe heard a Maimer. How the Rebbe listens to a Maimer. The Rebbe started to get to the Maimer. The Rebbe listened to the recording. Then the Rebbe said, and now he understands why there were so many shilas on the Maimer, because the Rebbe said the Maimer said the Neviah Samoichin, where in Zayif, that the John didn't come out as a klar. It was like such a called Eiris without the Gans and the Kalim. And the Poil said, the Rebbe said, now I know, for the future, when I say the Mamorim, I have to be a little clearer. But then,
אומרים שפורים טוב שמך, אז חסד, הרב ביקש לשמוע את ההקלטה.
לא הקלטה. No, that was something else. Then on Shabbos, after Purim, the Rebbe asked for Yael and Avremel to come in, and the Rebbe asked them for Chazara, and what happened by the Farbrengen after the Maimer, because the Rebbe said, told the Maimer, I remember, Nachan Maimer gedenk ich nicht. Now, Nachan Maimer means pretty much 2/3 of the Farbrengen, because it was 2 sichos and a Maimer. It was like an hour Maimer, it was a long Maimer, yeah? What's the Maimer there? You could hear it. The Maimer, the whole Farbrengen is taped, and actually a couple of years ago they found another hour between the sichos.
This year?
Probably you've heard parts before. And you hear the Rebbe's voice. You hear that the Rebbe's not Chaim. It's very clear. But the Kud is, the Rebbe said, but she doesn't remember. There was a whole Maisa there, not for now. But
It was like here, like schrim to best with the Brady.
I said, the whole Torah on it, the pshat of the Rebbe's, because the Rebbe then asked the Shaila, and they told the Rebbe in 20 minutes that to give a quick chazar. They asked the Rebbe for bring for the was Shabbos Ufruf. It was Ufruf. They felt bad. It was a Brickman, if I'm not mistaken. They felt bad. They asked them for bring Thursday night. They were for bring till 5 a.m. Ribi Mashke, but whatever. They said, okay, we'll ask. The Rebbe said, yeah, he's ready for bring, but first Yael and Avremel should come in. And the Rebbe asked them, what happened? In 20 minutes, they give chazara. And what they said, one thing they said, the Rebbe said, Azayim, the Rebbe said, that's what I said. It doesn't fit. Like this says they state. There's an argument that Rebbe. They said no. That's what they gesagt. Then gefin namakir. We're darf me gefin namakir. The whole Torah about it. On the one hand, it's like the Rebbe has a shaila on it, and it was chayser yediyah. The Rebbe didn't know. The Rebbe didn't remember. It's a sheni. How goof is mit a seder the chibur. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, so over here, so Lepoil, there's a whole chelik here in the Maimer. It's in Hakanach. It's in Sif Gimel and Dal. We can Sif Gimel. It speaks about Oiris and Kalim. So Behemshech Lozeh, the Rebbe wrote on a zettel. The Rebbe was mevayer some of these inyanim. It seemed that Rabbi Yael wrote about that he struggled with that weren't clear the way the Rebbe said it. So the Rebbe wrote it the B'ksav Yadi HaKadosh, and this one was I think it was two vert. Was it one or two? Oh, it's one in it with these two inyanim. It's on pay. It's in the end of Sif Gimel here. Inyanim in Oiris and Kalim. So the Maimer speaks about V'yelaita Yemesh Beis Lavach Yavayu Alikim. Right, then Avaya Likim Kulachat. So what's Avaya Likim? So Avaya Likim, so throughout the Maimer, there goes through many layers of what's an Avaya Likim. Right, Betzim, a lot of it follows the path of Yadaita Moskva. Right, that there's different dargis in the Chibur of Avaya Likim Kulachat. So in this Sif, it speaks about Avaya Likim, the way it's in Atzilis. What's Avaya Likim in Atzilis? Eiris and Kalim. Eiris and Kalim. But so on one hand, Eiris and Kalim are Havchim Zemizeh. But then he says that no, that the Lepoil they come together because Oiris v'Kalim in Yonam Echad. Why? Because the Oir, Sof, what's the Inyan of Oir? The Inyan of Oir, the whole purpose of Oir is to mashpia, right? Why does the sun have light? To give off light. Right? So again, the muhus of light is to go back to the sun, to go back to the source. But its Inyan, the Inyan of Oir, is the Ymer, that's its tafki, that's its shlichus, that's its purpose. So the whole purpose of Oir is to mashpia lamata. In order for that to happen, it needs Kalim. Because without Kalim, the Oir would not be in the skabel lamata. And Nachman not only won't be in the skabel, if you have a kalkal, the Oir could just burn everything, right? And take the chama out of the nartiko and it could destroy everything. So that's mitzad the Oir. Al derech zeh is farkeret. When you get to the Kalim, not so much the Tichon of our Maimer, but there it's farkeret. When you get to Kalim, what's the whole purpose of Kalim? The purpose of Kalim is to be magbil. But why be magbil? What's the purpose of being magbil? Kalim are just here to be magbil. They're here to be magbil. B'shvil hagilui. That through Hagbala, right, through Kalim, this the oisi is to explain something in simple words. It's that someone else can understand it now. It's hoping that there could be a gilui to the zulas. So So in order for the kli to do its tafka, what's the job of the kli? To be mitzamtzim, not just be mitzamtzim, to be megala through tzimtzum. No, if you have kelim without oyer, it can't do its tafka. So the oyer needs kelim, kelim neither. It seems the way that Rebbe said it was a bit unclear. So the Rebbe wrote down. The Rebbe said like this, and I'll just bring the part when I get to oyer. The Rebbe said, "Side when I get to oyer, side when I get to kli." There's two in yonim in oyer, and there's two in yonim in kli. Two in yonim in oyer shemistana or miskarev behem la'kelim. Two in yonim in oyer that makes it close, miskarev, and gives it a shaychus to the kli. And then there's two in yonim in the kli that give it a shaychus to the oyer. What are the two in yonim? Aleph and Beis. Number one is that oyer in itself is inyan utchudam be'atzmoi shadoyme bolakli. The oyer itself has a tchune. Even though the oyers and kelim, you look at them objectively, you'll say oyer is going in one direction, kelim, they're completely opposites. They have two different agendas and two different personalities. But oyer has within it something kli-like. The Rebbe added in a Chatzar Ribua, ki'ilu noimar, as if we'll say that the oyer is noise be'atzmoi machshava al dvar mekabel ha'oyer. Right? Because saf, what's the teichin of oyer? Being mayor. So being mayor means you're being mayor to a zulas, that the zulas exists. There's a zulas and you have to cater to it. Now, the oyer itself doesn't have the capacity to be mitzamtzim himself to the zulas. Right? So that's the tragedy of oyer. The tragedy of, let's say, somebody has a lot of oyer without kelim is not the pshat that he doesn't care about the zulas, necessarily. He doesn't want to give to the zulas. Ervil yegem the zulas. And he understands that the zulas needs a shpa. But because he has no kelim, he can't actually cater to the zulas. So he pasha gives, and right, and you could choke someone out of ava, you could kill someone from love, you could kill, or you teach something that ganze shlei lefiyerkom, mela. Not only you didn't help them, you reviled them, right? You just got them totally confused. Obervas, already the oyer within it has a nekuda of keli. Which nekuda? As there's zuch the zulas. But then there's beis. Beis is sheha oyer kaviyachol chasa. The oyer is missing something. But the first thing is, it's added, it's like a growth that oyer has. Oyer is not just oyer has within it keli. The other relationship that oyer has with keli is fakert. The oyer felt. The oyer feels, I can't do my job without a keli. Because without a keli, I can't be mashpia. So it's a relationship of need, of lack. Now, when you think about it, it's one's connected to the other. Why does the oyer feel the lack of a keli? Because the oyer knows it has to be mashpia. This that the oyer knows it has to be mashpia, and to the keli, to the makabel on its terms, is because it has the me'ain of a keli within it. It's the keli sheba oyer. So it has the keli sheba oyer, and therefore it understands I need the keli to actually do it. Right? That's in a chol, so he says it simply in regards to relationships. He says that be'etzem. Here's some of a different kav. It's the same nekuda. In order to relate to somebody that's different than you, or even opposite than you, completely different personality, you have to find the other person within yourself, right? Because even if you're a teva of chesed, chesed has within it gvura. There's a scholar. Isha gvura has within him chesed. So when you find within yourself gvura, let's say you're Isha chesed, you find within yourself gvura. So number one, you find a common denominator between you and somebody else. But then there's another point. Not only you find a common denominator, all of a sudden you realize, because you find Gvura yourself, you realize Gvura is needed. Because I'm such a Isha Chesed, I can't actually get Gvura to get it going. I can't actually facilitate its practical application. For that, I need an Isha Gvura, right? So let's say Isha Gvura. Isha Gvura is very disciplined, very mugda, very mugbal. Isha Chesed is bligvul, right? That's Chesed, Hashpah, Spashto is bligvul. When an Isha Chesed speaks to Isha Gvura, they never get along. Isha Gvura is rigid and aing, right? And Chesed is like, bligvul, Spashtos. What are you doing? What are you getting so lost in the details? But then all of a sudden Chesed realizes, one second, if there won't be any details, and if there's no one's going to break this up, then my Chesed won't go anywhere. So the chesed finds within himself the need, the understanding, the appreciation of Gvura. And once he gets the appreciation of Gvura, he's like, one second, I'm lacking proper Gvura, independent Gvura. For Gvura, I need the other guy. The same thing with Gvura, we get to the Isha Chesed, right? So this is an nekuda, the chesed will go to, so Oris will go to the kelim. But the reason that it goes to the kelim is because it finds the kli within itself. And the fact that its interest in the keli is because he finds the kli within itself. So kumt ois, that its interest in the keli is not mitzvah the keli on the keli's terms. It's the keli that exists within oir. The oir versteht darf and the oir is bli gvul. There's bli gvul that you say, what's a bigger oir bli gvul? Oir makif or oir pnimi? Oir makif. No. Because it's not really bli gvul, because you're going everywhere, but you're not going into the makabel. So it's not really bli gvul. Oir pnimi allows there to have to go into the cup of the Talmud, not just like a melech and the am. The melech gives the tzivui. The tzivui can go to anybody, even the most simple person. Right? And the person will do it, but it doesn't go into the person. It's makif. Mashenken, to Rashosh Pnimis, it's bli gvul, it goes into the person. Obervas, it's all mitzad, the kelim that exists within the oir. And then there's the biyadoini, that the what za zucht in malchus, and that's going to be the etzem of dibur. What oiris are looking to find in the kelim is not what the kelim expresses the keli sheba oir, the bli gvul of the oir. It's the keli for what the keli is. What's the keli? The keli, just like dibur. The dibur itself, not the content within the dibur. Just like dibur is the etzem and nefesh mamish, the keli is a bitui of the etz of atzmos aleh. Right? The koyach gvul of kelim, not the fact that kelim are here to be megala the oir. The gvul alein from the kelim. The gvul that's higher than the bli gvul that comes from etzem that's higher than gilui.
Keli is not missing the Mailam,
Oh, what?
Keli is not missing.
So in this mimer, so the mimer from here, where it speaks about how the oir needs the kli and the kli needs the oir. So there we're speaking about the nekuda that really, what's the intuition of the kli? The kli is here to be also for gilui, right? So here, Sasa, we're speaking about the oiris and kelim in the context of their relationship. But then there's an Indian and keli that's not about the relationship. Just like there's dibur, it's not about dibur bringing over wisdom or feelings from Reuven to Shimon. There's dibur as just that leap from one shetach to another. Right? The Mavir Dal Damas, right? You're going from Shusiyach to Shusarab. There's an nekuda of kelim as kelim itself. They are an expression of the koyach hahelim.
That itself is a malach. Just that transfer. Just that transfer, that goof is a malach.
Regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
Right, but also you need some content.
Okay.
Right. It's not right. Inachana.
Same thing with dibur. You also need content.
Right. You can relate to the nekuda is always broad, and moitzi chayet potter afal akli, the mashal that everybody always brings, and sichas to bring up the nekuda, the halacha. So so there's the kamos of each chayfetz. When you take on Shosarab, what's considered here it's kazai, whatever it is. And then it's a moitzi oichel pachis mikashir, potter afal akli. You have a keli that's a complete shear. You're walking out with a pan. That's full shear. And in it there's a dvar of oichel. But the oichel is a tiny, it doesn't have the shear of that oichel. You're not only your putter on the oichel, you're putter afal kli. Why? Because kli tfeilaloi. Because the kli is helpful to the oichel. The Rebbe, from all the Yonim in Nigla, the Rebbe brings out in Yonim Chassidus, this l'chayre might be number one. It's all over the Kutasichis and the Fabrengens, Mamorim sometimes. That what? It's how Nigla, Allah in Nigla brings out this Nikuda, how, what's the Iker? The Kavanah from Azach. That's its Mehus. Take out that keli. In other words, you're walking outside, and the keli and the Michael fell out before you got out. The Michael fell, it flew out with air. You're like, okay, I'm going to take out the kli without the Michael. You'll be chayiv on the kli. But the Michael, the little tiny Michael, is stuck to the kli. It doesn't have the shear. Why doesn't it have the shear? Because it's all about the kavanah from the zah. Right? The kavanah from the keli is there. The kavanah of the air is the kli. So it's the kavanah from the zah. But here we're saying, no, but then there's the nekuda of the kelim, not that they're here to serve something else. What are kelim? Kelim are helim. Like Malchus is helim. The etzem vart that something, the dveikus built in ikeres, that it's not megala the moer, that it's mailim on the Eibishter. That itself is an expression of the koyach ha'helm of the Eibishter. That's much higher than the koyach hagilu, which the koyach ha'helm is associated with the helam atzmi of atzmus alei. Just like dibur, it's not what dibur brings to the table; it's what dibur doesn't bring.